everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episodes 38, 39, and 40, or 13, 14, and 15 of season 2 of Kuroko's basketball. And these episodes just get better and better. This whole season gets better and better. I have no complaints of Kuroko's basketball season 2, none whatsoever. It has just been like a tour de force of really good matchups, and I'm like, and we're about to go into Toho versus Siren for a rematch. Are you kidding me already? We're only halfway through the season, and it's only season 2. Like I said in the last video, I do believe that Yosin is going to be our final match, which means that we're going to have to beat Toho. Now, how we're going to do it? No clue. Obviously, Riko's father Big Kagetora has been given, he's laid down that they all need to develop their own special abilities. They've got to get stronger individually so that when they come together as a team, kind of like what Toho does, they'll be able to face them. That all makes sense. And Kagami has gone off to America at the end of the last episode to probably practice street ball so he can go up against Aomine. Probably. So I feel like our crew is going to get better. Now, the one trick of all this, and I did not mention this in the last video, is that Toho has Momoi. And Momoi has touted since season 1, she's like swung her big boobs around and been like, I can predict the future, and knows what's going to happen to these players. So I'm very curious. They're going to do all this preparation. Is Momoi going to be able to predict all of the things that they're going to be practicing? Is she going to be able to predict all of them? That's kind of her power. So how are we going to overcome that? I didn't think about that until before starting this reaction. But how are they going to counter Momoi? That's the thing. Obviously, Kuroko is the only one that can really counter her because she can't predict his future. He has such little presence. But that's really the only thing. So I don't know. I don't know how we're going to do it. I feel like we're going to win. We have to face Yosin, and we are going to face Yosin. That they've already set up Homuro and Kagami. They've set up Murasakibara and Teppei. It's already in the cards. It's just a matter of if and when it happens. So we have that, right? But I do have some comments before we start. We're also going to have to look at the episode 36 end card. We were talking in the Discord, and Kelsey was like, I'm really curious to see if you actually thought it would be a spoiler in hindsight. And I'm like, we'll find out. So we're going to look at the end card for 36, and then 38, 39, and 40. Obviously, the end credits with number 2. And then we'll be watching these 3 episodes. I'm so excited. So it started to warm up here a little bit at home, so I didn't feel the need to wear a parka like I have the last several videos. But I do have some comments before we begin. Solaris noted that in the light novel of Hanamiya, and usually I don't want to know anything from the light novels on the off chance that I would read them. But then the truck said in the Discord and on Patreon, they were like, there's a lot of light novels, but they really don't have any English translations. And I'm like, that is such a bummer because I really would read light novels. I've read some Bungo Stray Dogs light novels. I'm reading one for Death Note. I like the light novels for anime series, but for some reason the publishers are like, English audiences aren't going to read them, so we won't translate them. And I'm like, that's so frustrating. So apparently there's a light novel of Hanamiya, and in that he acts like a goody two-shoes off the court, which is hilarious and kind of ties to him faking it on the court in the anime. But also in that light novel, Imayoshi calls Hanamiya cute, and they do things together. They do different things throughout the novel. So again, y'all are fueling my Imayoshi and Hanamiya ship. I'm here for it. He's the only one I can really... Are they an OTP? I can't see Hanamiya with anybody else, so maybe. I don't know. But I thought that was really cool. So thank you, Solaris, and thank you, Truck, for letting me know about those light novels. In the Discord, we had a very, very serious and heart-to-heart conversation about characters and depression, which is... When I signed up to watch Kuroko's basketball, I did not think I would be getting a very realistic, in-depth look at a character with depression, but that's kind of Aomine. And we had a big discussion about it, and there was Anime Annie, Bella, Kelsey. They had some really, really good insights about depression and not only being a friend of someone that has it, but going through different bouts of it and things like that. It was very, very a great conversation. But it basically brought this idea of how much respect there is for Momoi. Because if you've ever had depression or you know someone that has, it can be taxing sometimes to be friends with people that have depression because they try to push you away. And for Momoe to not only stay by Aomine's side, but to consistently not leave him and be by him and know that she needs to be there as his anchor whenever he goes through a spell, that's really powerful. And talking about in the Discord, I got really emotional. I was like, oh man, this is really, like her character, we make fun of it because she, he throws out her boobs right up in Rico's face. But at the end of the day, it really makes me appreciate Momoe's character a lot more because she is so dedicated to being Aomine's friend, even when he doesn't return that affection back. And it's like, it just makes me want him to say thank you to her so much, but maybe that'll happen after this game. We'll see, right? I really, really thought that was powerful. And what's also powerful is the fact that Kuroko, I think Kuroko, if Aomine went up to him and was like, hey, let's be friends, Kuroko would be like, yes, let's play again. I think Kuroko would just pick up right where they left off. And I feel like Kagami would too. I feel like Kagami doesn't care if you're Kuroko's friend or not. Kagami doesn't give off the jealous boyfriend vibes. He doesn't. Kagami doesn't like miscommunication. He doesn't like jealousy. Kagami is just a simple creature. And he's like, let's play basketball and just talk. I'm like, I'm for it. So I think that Kagami and Kuroko are on a mission to get Aomine to snap back to reality, and I really want it to work out. I really, really do. Speaking of Aomine, Roman on Patreon was talking about, I was trying to articulate what kind of trope the Ao-Kuro ship is at this point in the story, and Roman labeled it perfectly. It's the one that got away trope. And that's exactly what it is. Aomine is like, Kuroko was the one that got away. And I'm like, you pushed him away! And so, but it's so heartbreaking. And as a multi-shipper, my heart and soul is with Kagami and Kuroko, but I love Kuroko and Aomine too. So it's like, this series is a multi-shipper's dream, but it's so bittersweet because you want to root for both of them. So the obvious solution is we just make it an OT3 of Kagami, Kuroko, and Aomine, and then everyone wins. That's at this point, that's where I am. That's what we gotta do. This whole series is gonna be a bunch of OT3s and OT4s, and that's just how we're gonna solve the problem. Case in point, done and done. Kelsey said, is it kind of a joke that the guy on Hanamiya's team that says he could see through Kuroko's drive is the one that we can't see his eyes? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of funny. It's kind of a meta joke that the guy whose face is hidden is the one that supposedly cracked the code. I thought that was pretty funny. And then Anime Annie talked about how during the entire speech that Sakurai gave on Hyuga and the 3-pointers, he didn't once say the word sorry. He was sincerely giving an honest-to-God monologue. And I was like, man, Sakurai character development. I'm here for it. I want more of it. But I really like that. The idea that Aomine drops his guard and is softer around Kuroko, especially when it's just the two of them. Again, if we just make this an OT3, problem solved. And then finally, the bag that Hamuro has in the end credits scene, when in the last reaction, it had a little banana with a bow tie on it. I talked in the reaction, I was like, I wonder what that is. Apparently, according to Anime Annie, because they recently have been to Japan, it's from a confectionery store called Tokyo Banana. And I was just like, Hamuro treated Murasaki Bara with a confectionery shop. Took him there, bought him bananas and other confectionery goods. Of course he did. Of course he did. I ship Hamuro and Murasaki Bara already. I'm like, do it. I'm here for it. Let's go. So yeah, fun times. But yeah, we've got episodes 13, 14, and 15 to see what's going to happen, right? We're going to start. I don't know if we're going to immediately go into Toho's game or if we're going to have some kind of lead up to it. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. So we'll see, right? But in any case, we are going to start episodes 13 and 14 and 15 of Kuroko's Basketball. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's do this. Oh my God! What was this episode set? What was this? What was this business? Oh my God, I feel like I ran a marathon and I cried half of it. Oh my gosh, why? Kagami is the best. I'm sorry. If you don't like Kagami, you're probably not going to like this discussion because I will sing Kagami all the praises because he is so much more nuanced than I really thought he was going to be as a character in this series. You know, I really thought a lot of things about Kagami were going to go down that have not only not gone down that way, but he has exceeded my expectations as a character. And I know we're almost halfway through season 2. We still have the rest of the season and season 3. Things can change. Things can develop, whatnot. But I went into this series thinking that Kagami would be kind of like a meathead, which he is. He's a baka a little bit. But I was thinking he was going to be this angry, just grumbly grumble cat that Kuroko was going to have to pick up by his bootstraps and just be like, no, Kagami, this is teamwork and this all is. No! Kagami is not that. Kagami is the one pulling Kuroko up out of his funk. And it's the cutest, most amazing, wholesome thing ever. And I'm just like, oh my God. And there's so many moments that Kagami's character could do a thing that would have really annoyed me, and he doesn't do it. He does the polar opposite. It exceeds my expectations. I feel like Lady Gaga, who's like tremendous, wonderful, spectacular, perfect, exceeds expectations. I feel like I'm that meme describing Kagami as a character, because Kagami may be is Kagami my favorite? I don't know. He's like maybe he's in my top 5. I know that. I need to think about that. What would my top 5 characters be? Off the top of my head, wow. Oh. It's really hard because I don't want to say it because then I'm locked down to it. But Kagami may be my top 5. Definitely the top 10 for sure. Ooh. I'm going to have to do a character tier when this is all over. But Kagami right now is S tier for me. I freaking love him. I'm going to put a pin on that, because I need to think about that. I can't just waltz into that question without thinking about that, because there's too many good characters in this show. There's way too many good characters. So yeah, we're going to do a character tier, but I'm going to tell you who right now is at the bottom of the character tier. It's right along with Hanamiya. And he's a psycho. Not a good first impression. Not a good first impression from Asahi for me. No, I was like, what the fudge are we doing, you high school psychopath? Get the safety scissors away from him. I'm so glad that I did not stop with episode 39. That would have sucked. That would have sucked hardcore. That would have been a very bad episode to end on, because that was heartbreaking. I was about to cry. I was about to cry like Kuroko and shed big old crocodile tears, because Kuroko, his big old plan to use that drive against Aomine, was crushed by... God, I had to bring Whiteboard Kun out for several reasons. That whole scene was one of those reasons, but we'll get to it. But he was crushed by Aomine's love for him. I can't stop laughing, because it's just, this episode set was absolute pandemonium, and it's either I laugh or I cry. That's where I'm at. I either laugh or I cry. It's one of the two. If I'm left with the choice of laughing or crying, 9 times out of 10, I'll choose laugh. So that's where I'm at. Oh my God. Where do we even start, y'all? This episode set was just... With the first episode, by the time the first episode was over, I was like, we've already got a lot to talk about. So I wanted to bring Whiteboard Kun out for several reasons. Because Kuroko's Basketball, I am a character-driven person. It's one of the reasons why Ace of the Diamond is like my favorite sports anime, because it's all about the characters. And Ace of the Diamond kind of has an advantage over a lot of these series in that there is like 150 episodes. And like 36 volumes of part 1, and then like 34 of part 2. So you have like 70 volumes of manga and 150 plus episodes of character work in this big sprawling story. And it's the reason it's my favorite sports anime. Kuroko is quickly getting up there as number 2. It is quickly getting up there because the character work, the shipping, the just all of the fun things. Like, I would not, after watching Slam Dunk and after reading Real, I was like, when I started this series, I'm like, am I really going to be that fascinated by another basketball anime? Yes! Because they somehow managed to make each game extremely tense. I know they're going to beat Toho. They have to beat Toho to face Yosin. They have to. And the OP and EDs this season have led us to believe that they're going to face Yosin. It's going to happen. But the question is, how? And I feel like at the end of the day, Kagami and Kuroko are going to work together to defeat Aomine, because Aomine is like, well, no one man can defeat me. I feel like it's definitely a, Aomine moment. It's an Aomine moment from Lord of the Rings, where Aomine is the Witch King, and he's gonna be like, no one man can defeat me, and Kagami and Kuroko are gonna pull off the helmet simultaneously, being like, we're not one man, we're a duo, and that's gonna be the moment, right? Because yeah, that's kind of how the drive works. But there's lots of little setup things in this episode. Lots of character work. We'll talk about, Imayoshi. We'll talk about Imayoshi. He terrifies me. But let's get through. I've already talked for nearly 7 minutes just trying to make my brain calm down, because I felt like Aomine just like getting all hyped up, right? Just getting so excited. The next episode after this, of course, is the OVA I was originally supposed to watch. Of course it was. Because back in season 1, I watched the wrong OVA on accident, and it was the one that comes after this episode. Wow. Gonna watch that before the next set and see how different it feels. That's what I'm gonna do. Oh my god. I'm not gonna pay attention to Akashi, though, in that one either. If I rewatch the OVA, I'm not gonna pay attention to Akashi too much, because we've gotten a little sliver of him. If I don't see him again, it will be too soon. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about his character. But is he voiced by Levi? I feel like he's voiced by the same voice actor as Levi. That voice sounds so familiar. I know it's someone I know. For a second, I was like, is it Levi's voice actor? Which would be utterly insane. But I'd have to go back and listen. And the Discord will probably tell me. But, oh man. Okay, so Kagami goes to America to meet Alex. Alex is the master. From that little glimpse of the American flag and everything and the blonde hair, I was like, it's either a man with long hair or it's a woman. And it's a woman. Hashtag feminism. Hashtag Kagami is like, can learn from the best, right? I love it. And you know what? It kind of makes sense now, because when we first met Kagami's character, and Rico was introduced as the coach, a big part of me was wondering if Kagami would react to her being the coach. And he doesn't. He's very much like, okay, cool. And he takes everything, all the criticism she gives him, all of the like hardcore training and stuff. He never once complains. And he always respects Rico and everything. And part of that is Kagami's character. He's just a nice guy. But the other part of it now makes sense, where he's been trained by a female coach this entire time. So cool. He's just like, I love that trust he has in Rico, and he's just like, nah, lady coaches are awesome. So that's kind of cool. And it's kind of cool that it lines up where both Kuroko and Kagami have had like a female coach. I know Momoi's a manager, she's not a coach, but she's pretty much like a co-coach, right? She's like a co-coach. Kachan, as Tora calls him, Kachan the coach, he relies on her just as much. She might as well be a co-chair coach. Might as well. So yeah, I kind of like that. I like that Kuroko had Momoi to help guide him, and Kagami had Alex. What I love about these episodes too is we've seen nothing that Alex has taught Kagami. Not a thing. Not one thing. Himuro kind of hints at it. He's like, oh, you went to see Alex. You're willing to do anything, Taiga. It's like, okay. Himuro kind of suspects. My theory is that either one of two things are going to happen. Either Kagami is going to use one of the moves that Alex taught him and use it on Aomine in this next episode set to help them win the game, and he's been holding that ace up his sleeve waiting for the right moment. Either that, or we're going to save all of the Alex mentorship for the game against Yosin, and then we're going to talk about Alex when we get to that game. I wouldn't be surprised if we did the latter and we didn't even talk about Alex or talk about America until we got to Yosin's game. That would add something new to that game and give us a little bit more depth, and it would kind of tie into Himuro and Kagami's relationship. So if we don't hear about Alex until that game, I won't be surprised. But I'm just glad we know that. And then some Umbrella Academy woman, apparently that looks like a character off My Hero Academia, is coaching Yosin's team. Lady coaches, lady mentors. I'm here for it. I'll take it. I like it. I like it a lot. I do want to make note that I feel like I don't know if Japan has utilized the same voice actors as Free, but in the TV show Free, in that series, that sports anime, they had a scene where Rin, the main character, goes to Australia and stays with a study abroad family, and they speak in English, but it's clearly got an Australian accent, which fits because they're in Australia. In this episode, they're in LA. Now, not to say the guy on the court couldn't have been from Australia and just happened to be in LA playing basketball on the street, same as Kagami. I won't judge. I can't say that. But I was just like, that's not an American accent. I want to hear Alex talk. I do. At least it's better than Ace of the Diamonds English dub. I'm sorry, but Ace of the Diamonds English, the speaking in it, I was like, nope, doesn't work. Freeze is the most endearing. I like Freeze the most, but this one's a close second. I like Riko doesn't want Kuroko to go off by his own without Kagami. Which is fascinating to me. She has good intuition. It almost is like foreshadowing for the whole Akashi cult gathering that happens later on in the episode. But I like that Riko's like, Kagami's the only one that can keep track of you. He's gone, so you don't go anywhere. I like that Riko's like, we got to keep tabs on you. Put like a little leash on you, Kuroko, so that you can't run away. But Kagetora, I love the development with Kagetora. We'll talk about him, teaching him all he knows. I like the idea that during the week they practice individually, and then on the weekends as a team they come together. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I like that we get more nicknames, like Izuki is Cutie. Hyuga has the most normal nickname. It's just Four Eyes. Very stick. Teppei is Airhead, which is hilarious. And honestly, if you're going the shipping route, you could say that Teppei was dating Riko, and then he like broke up with her, or she broke up with him, and he's like, you're an airhead. Also, I didn't talk about this in the reaction, but we were talking about it in the Discord. I was like, no, Kagetora, he's super protective of Riko, because the thing of it is, he was one of these basketball boys. The whole thing about the onsen and them peeping on her, he was one of those boys, those hormonal teenage boys that would have done the same thing. So he's like, not to my daughter, and like all this. So it's not like he's paying for his raising, right? It's hilarious, and I love it. So what's interesting is I love the visual of Kuroko standing there with the giant, like outlandishly big shadow behind him. And Kagetora says that Kuroko's a mutant. He can't teach him. He's like, I don't know what to teach him. He's like, he knows what he needs to do, but he's going to hit a wall at some point, and he's going to have to make a decision on what to do. Now, has he hit that wall with Aomine, or are we talking about a wall later on that he's going to hit? Again, we don't know, but he's like, Kuroko's going to have to make a decision to move forward, which is interesting, right? I felt so bad for Kuroko in episode 39 because I felt so bad about him because what Aomine said, I was like, stop, don't tell him that. But when he's like, a shadow can never beat the light, I was like, well, that makes me want Kuroko to beat them all the more. Like, I just want Kuroko to make the winning shot in a game. If Kuroko made the winning shot in a game, I would lose it. Like, that's all I want for him, is to make a basket and to do it on his own and not have to rely on anybody. Nothing. That's what I want. And I'm just like, my heart broke in episode 39 into 1,000 pieces, but we're not there yet, right? So I wanted to bring Whiteboard-kun out to talk about the Generation of Miracles, talk about different things, but to start out with that, we go to like the training scene, and I want to make note, it feels like there's lots of little connections being made that we should talk about. We obviously have Kuroko. Kuroko is training himself, and Kagami is training himself with Alex. That's all we know. We don't know anything else about her. It's fine. But here's kind of the thing. So we have Midorima. We have Midorima and Kisei, who I think it's important to note that they're shown first, and they are practicing with their team. They are team players now. They have They have ascribed to the Kuroko school of Nakama, and they have gained this whole team thing, which is fun. I like that. Then we have Murasaki Bara, right? And Murasaki Bara and Aomine are polar opposites, which is so fascinating to me. They are polar opposites. Murasaki Bara is practicing with the team. Aomine is practicing alone. He's not even practicing. He's just alone with the ball. He's not even really trying because, again, Aomine just doesn't see the point in it. But Himuro makes the comment. He says that you practice the hardest and complain the whole time. Aomine doesn't complain, but he doesn't practice. So they are polar opposites, which is so funny because then, though, they react the same at the game. Murasaki Bara looks like he would rather be anywhere else than at that game. He looks like he's the most bored individual in the room. But not only that, they both hate to lose. That's kind of the funny thing. They hate to lose. They don't want to lose to anybody else. But Murasaki Bara, like, he's just like, I just want to win. Like, I don't care about anything else. Now, I mean, it's like, I wish I cared about basketball, but I'm too good for everyone. It's crazy, right? The polar opposite of them is really insane. And then, at that point, we have Sei-chan, Akashi. We'll talk about this nutter. And he's over practicing. He's training with his team. We do get we get the back of a head of some guy with black hair who's clearly an uncrowned king. Let's be real. He's an uncrowned king. At least one on the team is. In the OP they show him with like sort of 4 players behind him. But yeah, so he trained. And the teammate, so maybe he's the keeper, this uncrowned king. We'll see. He makes a note that Akashi, what does he say about him? He is like, he's always won. Like, winning is equivalent to breathing. Ugh. He always wins. Okay. We're going to talk about him when we get to him because he's a piece of work. But yeah. Yeah, so he always wins. And then they make the point that the Winter Cup is a big deal. I feel like that's in direct opposition to Haikyuu. If you've ever watched Haikyuu, in that series, the summer tournament is always, and even in Ace of the Diamond, in those series, the summer tournaments are always the big deal. They're the ones that you want to win no matter what. And then the winter tournaments are kind of like the afterthought or like the consolation tournament. They're still important, but they're not treated with the same like glam fanfare as the summer tournaments. And I like that this series kind of says, yeah, that's how it used to be, but now the Winter Cup's gaining more notoriety, and it's the one everybody wants to go to. And it's like, okay, cool. There's also some kind of Mid-Autumn Festival that nobody went to, and it was like, we're just going to skip that one. Forget it. But yeah, and then I love that Kagami, get this ball for Huck. I love that Kagami, like, is late because of the time zones. I was like, that's hilarious, because I would probably have made that mistake too, right? And then Kisei, what does he have on here? We have, Kagami late with the time zones, and then Kuroko. Okay, yes, Kuroko gets the text from Akashi, like he summons them outside. What's very creepy about all of this is that they all listen to him. Why? Why do you listen to this guy? He's clearly off his rocker. But yeah, Akashi has some kind of weird control over the generation of miracles. It's a little bit disturbing and kind of cultish. Kind of has like a toxic friend vibe. I don't like it. I'm like, just text him back and be like, no, I don't want to come see you. But he goes. I mean, Kuroko's nice, so Kuroko is just not one to say no, right? And Kuroko's friendly. He wants to see everybody, and he wants everybody to be friends. I don't think Akashi wants to be friends with anybody. He's weird. We're talking about him. But when they come, everything is tense. And the Fuka guy, he kind of follows along, right? Because Riko's like, don't let him go off alone. We'll never catch him. But everything is really tense. Like, before he shows up, it's almost like things aren't going right without him there, right? Which is creepy, right? So for example, Aomine is aggravated, but again, that's not too much that's new. Kisei is restless. He gets like the text from the girls. Sakibara, I'm just gonna put Mura on here. He can't open his candy. And what makes this very interesting, and it's very pointed, is that I think the whole candy bit was to point out that when he asks Midorima for the scissors, it just so happens that scissors are the lucky item. When he asks him for scissors, for Sakibara, Midorima says no. For Akashi, he questions it. He's like, what are you using them for? And he's like, give them to me. And he gives them to him. Why? I'm so curious why they listen to him, because he clearly seems like a bully. He seems just like he's a psychopath, but he's kind of crazy, and I don't like him. No. And so he gathers them all there, but then he says, now when he says one of you isn't, he's like, you're not allowed. And we're meant to think that it's Fuka. And I was just like, why do you care? What cult secrets are you giving out to the team before the game? Nothing. So why do you care if he's there? But then Kagami shows up, right? I freaking love Kagami in this set because he, at the moment, is not scared. I mean, he gets a little thrown off afterwards. He's like, that guy was weird. But at first, he's just like, hi, I'm Kagami. Who are you? And for no reason, Akashi, as Kagami's just like, hey, what's up? Just having this meeting out here and the creepiness. What's happening? I'm Kagami. And for no reason, he grabs Midorima's scissors and tries to stab Kagami in the face. For no reason. Why? What voodoo magic are you doing, sir? What with your two colored eyes? Why? I don't like Akashi. I don't at all. He's just such a weird character. And he clearly is set out to be like a villain, right? He's set out to be villainous. He does this creepy cult meeting. He wants to like have control and power over all of them. And I get that he's probably, and he's not the type of character I root for at all in a series, because he's like, I always win. And I'm like, well, play your sad fiddle, boo-hoo on you. I don't like you. I'm like, nope. He is an immediate turnoff for me. I'm like, no, absolutely not. To the point where I'm like, I don't want Kuroko around him. I'm like, he's creepy. You need to stay away from him. He's not good. He probably drives around in a giant white van with candy written on the side of it. You need to stay away. That's how he lured Mori Sakibara into his clutches, right? He just gave him candy. But yeah, he has the two colored eyes. And then he takes the scissors and just cuts his own bangs like a freaking psychopath right before the game. No. I don't like it. Nope. And the weird thing is his face and hair looks exactly like Kuroko. When we watch one of the end cards, you'll see he looks exactly like Kuroko, only he's like the polar opposite. Kuroko gives me the warm, fuzzy feelings like I want him to be my best friend and I want him to like, walk me down the aisle to my wedding. Akashi makes me want to get a restraining order and move 3 states away. That's where I'm at with his character. I'm like, I'm going to put you over here. I'm like the lady doing the minimalist. I'm like, he does not bring joy. Get out of here. I want to do a Midorima and shoot him through a basket. No. I just did this and Huck thought I threw something. Sorry, Huck. So yeah, he weirds me out and Kagami's kind of weirded out about it. But I'm glad that Kagami says out of sight, out of mind. He's like, look, we'll worry about him in season 3, which is exactly what I think is going to happen. Well, if they make it get past Yosen, no clue if we're going to get to that or not. But he's like, we'll worry about him later. We're going to worry about Aomine and this game right now. Aomine is our target. We need to focus on him, which I'm glad. I'm glad that Kagami has some focus. Aomine, I'm glad Aomine feels a little bit challenged at the beginning. He's glad to see that Kagami's changed a little bit. He's like, all right, cool. Glad to see it. And then Kuroko, he just really brings out, the OVA is hinted at so much in this. I'm like, okay, all right. We're going to hint at that OVA. I'm definitely watching it before the next set. I'm going to rewatch it and see how I feel about it now. I was talking in the Discord. I feel a little bad watching it on accident early because I think it's given me this preconceived notion. Like if I was trying to think throughout the reaction, if I hadn't watched that OVA, how would I feel about Aomine and how he treats Kuroko? And I feel like I would honestly have felt different, but there's no going back. I've seen it. It's changed my views of Aomine because we've seen what him and Kuroko were like before all of this, when he was happy. But honestly, this episode set gave you enough glimpses of how they were in the past that you can fill in the blanks. And so when episode 39 happens, it still, I think, would have the same emotional impact. It's just got another layer onto it because of this. But, oh my God. So yeah, they're really amping up that OVA. Imayoshi and Toho not going to make it easy. I'll be honest, Aomine does not intimidate me in this series. I don't get scared when I'm around Aomine because we know Aomine is strong. We know he's tough. We know he's going to do formless shots. He's going to do tricks. He's going to be super fast like a freaking jaguar on the court. Like, Aomine does not make me as nervous as Imayoshi does. There's just something like slimy and trolly and creepy about Imayoshi that it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. It just makes me get goosebumps. I'm like, ugh. So that ending when Momoi's like, sorry, I've got to put Imayoshi on you, Kuroko, to stop you. I was like, well, how are we going to handle this? So, I don't know. Imayoshi makes me kind of freaked out. And now, watching him in this game, I'm like, oh, it is cemented for me that him and Hanamiya are the couple. Imayoshi, I love Imayoshi as a character. He's great. I feel like he's like a dark and twisted Midorima. Midorima is way too straight-laced. Midorima presses his shirts and irons them out meticulously every morning. He's just that straight-laced and rigid, right? And I love that about Midorima. It's part of his charm. Imayoshi is like the dark side version of Midorima. He's like kind of twisted and spidery and very, very like kind of like poisony, and that's perfect for Hanamiya. Like, he could keep up with Hanamiya's antics and garbage. Totally ship them. I'm all about it. But yeah, he makes sure that they know that Toho is not going to be easy. Toho is probably the most intimidating team so far in this series. They really are, because they're just that good, right? They're just that good. There's no tricks. There's no, like, they're not trying to beat you up on the court. They're not trying to psych you out. They're just freaking good. And I feel like Yosen's going to be kind of the same way. I could be wrong, but I feel like they're just going to be a hard team to beat. I feel like Akashi plays mind games. That's just, he's freaking weird. He just seems like a mind game type of character. Yosen, Murasakibara, and Aomine are two sides of the same coin. And I feel like they are both like just freakishly strong. So we're just going to have to fight strength with strength. If we face Akashi's team, it's going to be a psychological mind trip, and I'm not ready for that. I just push that aside for now. No, thank you. But yeah, Kagatora shows up. We were joking in the Discord last week after last week's set. We were joking in the Discord where I think it was Zero Anti-Zero was like, oh, because we were talking about Kagatora pulling out like a gun on these kids, and Zero Anti-Zero was like, you know, in Japan, it's kind of hard to just whip out a gun, you know, on your own. So is Kagatora a Yakuza? And we were kind of joking. We're like, oh, that'd be funny. He's a Yakuza. And the physical trainer's just a front. No, I think that's it. I think that's it. Kagatora shows up in this damn suit with a gold chain and the red unbuttoned shirt. He's a freaking Yakuza. Posing as a physical trainer. I think that's it. God, that's great. What's even better is that he knows Kachan, which is Toho's coach, and he knows Mabo, which is Shitoku's coach, and either was on the team with them or played against them. I want to say that they were all rivals, and they played each other. Kind of like the Generation of Miracles playing us now, Siren. Or they could have been team members. Don't know. I love that they all know each other. I think that's really cool, right? But I love that Takao, everybody's like, Mabo. All of Shitoku's like, Mabo. Now, granted, Midorima is super respectful, and even though he can be a diva, I don't think he would ever bring out Mabo's name as a point of contention. I love that immediately Takao is like, I'm going to call him that. It's like, of course you would. Of course you would. You diva too. But Tora being proud of his daughter. I feel like now it makes sense why Shitoku's coach, Mabo, and Kacchan with Toho, why they respect Riko. I don't know if they knew Riko was Kagatora's daughter, but if they did and they respected her, that makes much more sense now. I mean, it'd be cool if they just respected her because she's a good coach, but the fact that they know her dad adds to that a little bit, right? I like it. And Mabo made a comment about Kagatora not being a coach anymore. And he's like, oh, I can't teach people. I don't know how to coach. I don't know how to teach. I just tell them some things and they do it. Selling yourself awfully short, Kagatora. But I love that he says that his daughter is doing just fine. I'm like, what a proud dad. I like it a lot. I really do. So then Momoy, she's like going all in. She says that she is not going to take it easy on Kuroko. And then right at the end of episode 38, Kuroko does the Kai pass. It's like the Kaioken from Dragon Ball Z. Like, that whole pass is like a Dragon Ball Z move. And Aomine stopping it is like Vegeta stopping a Kaioken blast. It's like, what do we do? Man, episode 39 is pretty rough. It's a pretty rough episode. I'm glad it's sandwiched in the middle because if we had ended on that note, this would have been a much more dour and sad discussion. But luckily, our boy Kagami exists, and that was not the case. But we got a new OP. We got two ladies. We got what we got here? The coach with the umbrella, and then the blonde master. I can't wait to see both of them. More female characters in sports anime. I'm all about it. But Akashi getting excited whenever the pass was blocked. I was like, that face he made was very creepy. Not a fan of it. But the Ignite pass, I liked that it nearly took off Aomine's arm the first time, right? And then I could sit down all day and just watch a show that is Takao and Midorima giving their hot takes and breaking down the physics of moves. I could sit there all day and listen to them because Midorima's like, well, there's actually a logical explanation. And I'm like, oh, tell me, Midorima. And I like how he explains it's like the bullet. The Ignite pass is like the bullet spinning. I'm like, well, he did learn something from Kagatora then. Pulling that gun on him gave him some inspiration. What can we say? But yeah, Murasaki Bara is not impressed. He's like Aomine. He's just there watching the games, being really bored. And Kagatora, I like Kagatora is not only proud of Kagami, but he's impressed by Imayoshi. He knows what's up. Imayoshi, like I said, is like the most intimidating character on Toho. It's not Aomine. It's not Sakurai, although I love our boy Sakurai. Imayoshi is the scariest player on that team because he's so unpredictable. Like Aomine, you know what you're going to get. You know he's going to be insanely strong and insanely fast and what he's going to do. Imayoshi is mysterious, and that makes him more of a threat, in my opinion. But yeah, so Kagami, he's grown. And even Kagatora even approved of Hyuga when he started making all those threes. He was like, I was like, see, I am all convinced that he's gonna make Hyuga's life a living hell. But if Hyuga ended up marrying Riko, I could totally see it, right? Not Teppei, though. I don't think he approves of Teppei. He calls him an airhead. But yeah, so in the next scene, Kagami versus Aomine. I loved the breakdown that Midorima and Takao had because the audience and the crowd were like, he ran away. Kagami ran away from him. And Midorima's like, no. In that 5 seconds, Kagami and Aomine did like a breakdown of each other's like possibilities and moves, realized what each other was going to do, and then Kagami realized that plan's not going to work. I'm going to give it to my teammate and we're going to go from there to get the shot and make the basket. And there's something really interesting brought up through this, and it's the idea that when he's playing Aomine, and I think this is going to come back to bite Aomine by the end of this game, is that Aomine, he gets on to Kagami for relying, kind of like what he did with Kisei in the last season, for relying on his team. He gets on to Kisei. And the thing that's really cool in this moment is that when Kisei was lectured about Aomine about this, Kisei kind of had like a breakdown, was like, oh. And then Kasamatsu at the end is like, it's fine. You're going to be okay. We're a team. Kagami is and has always been all about team. And what I love about this episode is it's a response to season 1 when Kagami first revealed that he could have potential to rival the Generation of Miracles, because Aomine and them were like, well, once he gets strong enough like us, he'll leave you, Kuroko, and he won't help you anymore. He'll want to do things his own way and not rely on his team. Kagami has never been like that. Kagami's like, no, I want us all to work together. And what I love about, it's technically in episode 40, but what I love is that Kagami, he goes from being saved by Kuroko to being the savior of him. He's like, I got strong to help you, and my heart grew 3 sizes. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, Kagami's like, I got stronger so I could save you, Kuroko, and help you when you're down so that I don't have to rely on you and you can get help when you need it. And it's like, because that's the thing. The Generation of Miracles have always treated Kuroko as a compliment to them. They've always treated Kuroko as, oh, you're going to help us get stronger. And Kagami's like, no, I'm going to help you get stronger. And I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, oh, that's why you 2 are my favorites. I'm like, yes, yes. Because we'll talk about it, but I love it. And so Kagami looks like he's running away, but it was more of a calculated move. Hyuga, I love when he cracks the neck. He's like, let's do this. I just like, I love Hyuga and his strategy. When Hyuga gets all fired up in captain mode, I'm like, yes. And Hosoya does such a good job of voice acting him. But Sakurai, our apologetic mushroom, I love that he becomes a petty diva. I love it. I love that he's like, I'm not going to lose to you. I'm just like, oh. And it's kind of like Kisei. We noted back in season 1 when Kisei and Kagami were facing each other, Kuroko was like, this is not good, because the better Kisei's opponent is, the more he gets riled up and the better he gets. Sakurai's the same way. The more Hyuga got fired up, the more Sakurai got fired up, and the more that they did, right? That's what I love about this. I love that they just like form this rivalry, but it's a healthy rivalry, right? Sakurai's not trying to kill, the other player like Akashi and Hanamiya were. So I would like Hanamiya and Akashi if they weren't trying to literally physically injure the people near them. I have a small issue with that, a wee bit. But yeah, and Toho, they're just damn good. They're just a good team. That's like literally all you can say. They have Momoe, but Momoe kind of takes a back seat in this episode. She kind of just stays on the sidelines. Like clearly she's prepped the team. We know what her powers are. She's done all she can. But yeah, she just kind of stays in the background. It's funny. I remember when I thought that Momoe and Akashi were siblings. What a day, right? I was thinking about the OVA, then I'm like, I thought they were twins, but no. So that's a fun time. And so the Drive of Kuroko's, Midorima and Takao, after watching it and being fooled by it, they figured out what it is. And honestly, the long-haired guy, he's not that far off. He's not that far off. It was an illusion, but it was Kuroko ducking out of sight diagonally and messing with obscuring your vision in the misdirection. It makes sense. Midorima and Takao break it down beautifully. And man, Aomine. Eventually, Aomine is going to guard. Okay, so the other team wants Aomine to guard Kagami. They've figured out that Kuroko's drive is dependent upon Kagami, and in order for it to be stopped, someone has to guard Kagami, and they're like, Aomine, you're the only one that can do that. I do respect Aomine being like, I'm not going to be your lapdog. I'm not here to do what you tell me to. I'm here to play basketball, not do tricks, not be sleazy. I'm going to just go out and play, and if he can't stop me, if I can't stop him, then that's on me, right? But he's like, I'm not going to do whatever y'all tell me to. Which is funny because he shows up for Akashi, so what the hell? Like, what is up with that, right? But, oh my god. Okay. Can we talk about this drive moment? Can we talk about this drive moment? I should have put some booze in this because I feel like I need it now. Alas, it's not. This drive moment, I freaking want to cry because of this whole triad, this OT3 that is Kuroko, Aomine, and Kagami. I just, y'all, I can't do it because you have Kuroko, him and Aomine, These two that they only knew each other through basketball. Right? This is how Kuroko and Aomine as a couple are different than Kuroko and Kagami. There's a very, very big difference, right? Kuroko has a type, for the record. Has a type. It's Kagami and Aomine, because on the surface, they're very different. On the surface, Aomine and Kagami are very similar. They are. But then when you get down to the new little nuances of the characters, they are vastly different. Kuroko and Aomine, they are a star-crossed lover couple. They are. They really are. They really have nothing in common except basketball. But the one thing they have in common is the most beautiful thing between them. They come from totally different backgrounds. They have totally different philosophies about basketball. Aomine wants to work solo. Kuroko wants to work as a team. But they both came together because of their love of basketball and how it brought them together. And that trust that developed between them. And it's so freaking beautiful because Aomine, he trusts Kuroko and he knows Kuroko enough that he could close his eyes and like feel the movements of Kuroko before they happened. He knows Kuroko that well and he trusts him that well. And it's so damn heartbreaking because you're just like, Aomine, what are you doing? Like you guys should be playing together, not apart. And it's just, you want to chuck this marker across the room, but you could do the ball instead. I wanted to cry because it was so beautiful. It's the moment where Aomine, he talked about trust in the last set, and then you get to this moment, and it's literally the most perfect example of how in sync and trusting of Kuroko he is. But he's made Kuroko his enemy, and so they're like lovers to enemies. It's just, and Kuroko, the whole reason is that he wants to beat Aomine so that he will smile and love basketball again. That's all he wants to do. He wants to beat Aomine so that Aomine won't think that he's infallible, so that he won't think there's no other competition for him. Because right now Aomine's he's like, there's no reason for me to play because there's no one as good as me, but I don't know what else to do with my life, and this is the only thing I did love, so I keep playing it, but I'm not satisfied with it, and I'm stuck in this depressive funk, and I can't get out of it. And Kuroko believes the only way to help his friend out of it is to beat him. And so he develops this move to beat him. But the irony is that the fact that Kuroko's so good with Aomine allows him to see through it. And it's so damn hard. Right? It just breaks your heart because Kuroko just wanted this one thing, and Aomine just destroyed it, and then he belittled him and was like, if this is all you got, then that's not good enough. And Aomine doesn't get it, and then he goes on that stupid light tangent, and he's like, yeah, the brighter the light, the stronger you are, but you'll never beat me. The idea that Aomine says that you can never be stronger than I am. Like, a shadow will never be stronger than the light. It's like, and then Kagami, like, walks on the scene and is like, I beg to differ. And I'm like, because then you have Kuroko and Kagami, right? And on the surface, you would think that they are star-crossed lovers. Nope. They are not. The star-crossed lovers thing is Aomine and Kuroko, for sure. It's beautiful. It's sad. It's tragic. I want Kuroko and them to beat him because at the end of the day, Kuroko's mission to get Aomine to smile again, it's something that I think the whole audience wants. We want Aomine not to be depressed. We want him to love the game again. We want him to feel like there's a reason he should keep playing and keep going and to try. Right now he doesn't see any reason to try. But then you have Kagami and Kuroko. No, they are the we complete each other pairing. These guys are pulled apart and it's tragic and beautiful. These two come together and it's glorious and beautiful. And I'm like, and I absolutely love it because whereas Aomine, it gets so negative, Kuroko, and tells him that it's useless. All of your time wasted to try to beat me is useless. Kagami's like, there is nothing useless. No such thing as a useless effort. Kagami is a sunshine boy. He's a sunshine boy against all odds. Aomine is the biggest, tsundere ever. Aomine is the moon. Kagami is the sun. That's where we're at. Nope, that's where we're at. Every illusion, every symbolic imagery has been Aomine in the darkness, in the moonlight, because that's his thing. Kagami is the sun, right? You have the light of the moon and the shadow of the moon being Kuroko. You have the light of the sun and the shadow of the sun being Kuroko. It's poetry. It's beautiful. It's symbolic. I love it. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. And so, yeah, Kagami is like, there's no such thing as a useless effort. He is the sunshine to Kuroko's world and the sunlight to dry his tears. When Kuroko started crying on the bench, I wanted to eat my soul. It was just the most sad thing in the world. And then he threw that damn drive back at him. That was the most useless thing to do. Kuroko wasn't even looking. He just fired it back and Aomine stopped it like it was nothing. He's just so in sync. And then Kuroko looked so pitiful in that moment. And on the bench, he starts crying and my soul shatters. And then Kagami is like, no. He's like, you just sit out a bit, buddy, old pal. I'm going to show him what for and then get you back in the game. My heart. Yeah, because Kagami, he's like, no. Aomine, if we're talking about differences, I really thought I was worried Aomine and Kagami would be super similar characters and that would be kind of boring between them. And then it would be like, well, Tetsu just likes the same kind of guy. But they're really not the same because Kagami is all about communication. Kagami, my favorite thing about him as a character, by far, is that there's none of this miscommunication bullshit that you see in other anime. Kagami is like, excuse me, no, we need to talk about this right now, right here, solve this problem, move on, get to the next thing. And I'm like, thank you, Kagami. Because, yeah, he's just like, no, let's talk it out. Right? That whole scene, episode 39, where he goes and finds Kuroko. He's like, we need to talk it out. What's wrong? He's like, hey, something's up. You want to talk about it? Thank you. Like he doesn't just let Kuroko wallow in misery and be like, I wonder what's wrong with him. No, he comes out and asks him. And Kuroko tells him. They communicate with each other. They talk to each other. Aomine is not a communicator. Aomine is very much, I'm going to go off on my own, do my own thing, and internalize everything. And then maybe you'll get a glimpse of what I'm thinking like Moe and Imayoshi do. Maybe that's the case. And the funny thing is, Kuroko's kind of the same way as Aomine. Aomine and Kuroko are kind of similar. Kuroko's kind of does the same thing. He internalizes as well, right? And Kagami is just like, nope, I'm not about that. Let's talk about it. Let's go. I'm a Leo. Let's do this. Right? So it's so great to see how different these two characters are and to see the stark differences. And again, what I love about this episode, when we get to episode 40, is that Kagami, the whole episode, is about Kagami going, okay, time to save Kuroko. Time to help make him better. Because the whole first season, Kisei was like, oh, well, as soon as Kagami gets as good as us, he'll leave you. As soon as Kagami gets to be a Generation of Miracle status, he's going to leave his teammates. He's going to abandon them. No, that's not what happens. Now, Kagami does say in this episode 40, he's like, leave Aomine to me. But at this point, yeah, that's not arrogance talking. That's just Kagami being like, no, we just got to do it this way. Sorry, but there's no other options. He's like, this is just how it's got to go down. So that's not him being arrogant or being selfish. That's just him saying, just let me try this. I got to do my thing. And they're like, okay. So we go back to this episode. Oh my God. I know I've talked so long, but it's so worth it. But yeah, I feel so bad for Kuroko. And then we cut to this episode and Kagami's just like, all right, we're going to just go on the court. And then Kagami says, he's like, it's not as though I doubt him. But if he doesn't return to the court, we're more than screwed. So Kagami's saying, he's like, I'm confident Kuroko's going to come back. But we've got to make sure that happens. He's like, I've got to pull my weight. I can't rely on Kuroko. And this whole episode is establishing that Kagami has been relying on Kuroko for some time. And now he's like, no, I need to step up my game. I need to, unlock my own potential and be someone that Kuroko can rely on. It doesn't need to be the other way around, right? And I feel like the Generation of Miracles have all gotten to that point as well. Like they branched off away from Kuroko to do their own thing so that they didn't have to rely upon Kuroko either. But, Huckleberry hacks. But the thing that's different though is that Kagami still wants to play with his team and still wants to be with Kuroko and work with him. Whereas the other Generation of Miracles players were like, oh, we don't need you. We're going to abandon you. That Kagami is exactly the opposite, right? Which is what separates him from the others, right? But I still think that Aomine getting onto Kagami about working with his team, I'm waiting on that reversal. I'm waiting on Aomine. Because Aomine stealing the point from Wakamatsu and Wakamatsu getting mad about it. Case in point, Kagami is total opposite when it comes to that. I'm waiting for Aomine to do a move where he helps his teammates, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. And so we have like 9 minutes left of the second quarter and they're down by 6. I'm glad they nearly catch up. I'm glad that's the case. But then and Aomine is interesting because he kind of does the petty thing in this episode where he like tries to like trash talk Kuroko and Kagami. Like he tries to trash talk him. I'm like, are you Hanamiya? Which no, Aomine is most certainly not. But he tries to do that same trash talk thing and Kagami is just like, shut up. He's like, Kyoshi was just in a good position. That's all. He's like, and that's the difference. Kagami is like, I'm not so selfish and arrogant to think that I can do it all by myself. He's like, I recognize my team. I know when things are in the right position. I'm not afraid to throw to my teammates and not hog the ball. I feel like that's going to be Aomine's undoing. I feel like in this game, Aomine is not going to rely on his team and he's going to try to make a move. We've seen that Kagami can slap the ball away from him. We've seen that Kuroko has no presence. So when he got charged with a charging foul, I was like, oh. I talked in the last set about how since Kuroko doesn't have any presence at all, he should be able to just foul like crazy and nobody will notice. Well, in here, he can get fouled and nobody notices until the foul happens because he has so little presence. So yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's going to come back to bite Aomine by the end of this. That he's not gonna rely on anyone. It's gonna be his undoing, right? The only one who can beat me is me. That's gonna come back to bite him, being like the only one who beat you in the end was yourself because you were only relying on yourself. If that happens, I'm gonna be like poetry. If the only one that beats Aomine is himself because he didn't rely on his teammates, chef's kiss. I will freaking lose it. This episode had me so riled up. And Kagami's like, I'm not running away. I love it. My favorite is when Kagami first slaps the ball away from Aomine. The shocked look on Midorima's face where he's like inconceivable. That's what Midorima looks like. It's wonderful, right? It's such a great moment. And Rico's dad hits it on the head. He's like, his potential rivals that of the Generation of Miracles. However, he hasn't had the chance to go one-on-one with them yet. He's always relied on Kuroko. As to why, because he believes he needs to work with Kuroko to defeat them. But that's not the case. But that thinking suppresses his abilities. He's like, you could call it a dilemma. Yeah, as long as Kuroko's the dependable one, he's incomplete. I like that butt shot. I was like, just go ahead. But once he reaches 100% strength, he'll be more than good enough to face the Generation of Miracles. I love that. I love them. Kagami's got that jump, right? It's great. And I love that everybody's just kind of shocked by it, right? And then Aomine is like, oh, well, you've improved considerably. I'm like that Aomine just can't accept. Aomine's excited, but he's still so snarky and such a jerk about it. It's like, really? Really? Just admit that you like him, Aomine. And then they play each other. It's great. He steals the dunk from Wakamatsu. And he's all excited. And he tells Wakamatsu to get out of the way. Don't interfere with my playing. And he's like, I finally found somebody worth playing. And the big difference is that Kagami kind of gets in the way, even though it allows Kagami to make a play off of him. The difference is how they handle the situation. With Aomine, he gets onto Wakamatsu and tells him to stay out of the way. With Kagami, he's like, oh no, it was fine that you were there, Kagane. It's just, I ended up making the shot anyway, but it's fine that you were there. Like, they handle it so differently. I love how this episode showcases just how different these two characters are. And then again, Imayoshi is being ridiculously creepy. And that's when Kagami slaps the ball away from the formless shot. It's great. And everybody's reaction, even Akashi's like, what? Murasaki Baro's like, what? Midorima's like, impossible. It's wonderful. I love that moment. And even Imayoshi's like, excuse me? Like, when Imayoshi's eyes open up, you know that something crazy has gone down. And they say, is Kagami better than Aomine? And I'm like, no, he's just on the same level as him. And then, no, Kagami has just been practicing and knows to predict his movements. And that's when Himuro is like, he's been practicing with Alex. You would go to those lengths, Taiga. I'm like, yes, I love it. We're setting things up. I feel like they're going to talk about it when we get to Yosin's game. I'm so ready. I love it. And then the animation on Wakamatsu in this episode was actually really good. I liked it. And then I like that Aomine, in true tsundere fashion, as soon as they go to the halftime, Aomine is like, I gotta go outside. And everybody's like, well, he's being a jerk. And Momoe and Imayoshi are like, no, he's beside himself with joy. Roll credits. They're like, no, he's really happy right now. He just wants to celebrate it alone. Aomine is he's such a secret tsundere. He doesn't want to show his emotions to anybody. It's like, come on. And then we see, like, he's so excited, like, out there by the goal that he's fat. Like, Kagami has, like, shown up to be his rival. And then we see Kuroko, like, contemplating all alone, right? Out there. And again, Kagami, he, like, comes to, like, give him the coat, saying, you're going to get cold, Baka. And what I love about this scene with Kagami, like, telling Kuroko, he's like, I want you to talk to me. Like, what's up? And Kuroko kind of details basically about him and Aomine's relationship. And Kagami came to cheer him up, which is, first of all, boyfriend goals. Knowing your boyfriend's gloomy and you want to come and cheer him up. Good for Kagami. He's like, you didn't come out here for some air, so what's up? And Kuroko says, he asks him if he likes basketball, which Kagami does. He's like, I wasn't thinking about anything complicated, but I would do anything to win this game. And at that point, I was like, then Kagami's going to help you win the game. That's just a given. That's going to happen, right? That's just how this is going to go. And he talks about Aomine and the fist bump and the smile. He said, Aomine-kun, when we were middle school, always played with a smile. He's like, I just want him to smile again. If we win this game, maybe I can get him to do that. And I like that Kagami, I like his response. He says, well, he's like, we don't know if that's going to work or not. He's like, people aren't that simple. Just because we win this game doesn't mean that he's going to smile. Like, Kagami's like, I don't know if that's, he says, I don't know if winning is going to change who he is. Which, right, that's, Kagami is surprisingly mature about this. Because he's like, yeah, just because we win in a game doesn't mean we're going to, like, cure his depression or get him out of his funk. Kagami's like, I don't know if we can expect things to go that far, right? He's like, I don't know if we can expect that, but losing definitely won't change anything. I love that. And Kuroko's like, oh. And he's like, the only thing we can do is play as hard as we can to win. And then that makes Kuroko smile. That cheers him up, right? Because that's the thing, like, Kagami's not a jealous boyfriend. He's like, okay, you had a thing with Aomine, you want to make him smile again? All right, I'll play. I'm like, I also love something that Kagami said earlier on in the episode when he was saying, it's something as a coach that I was like, oh, I want to use that. Because I have some, like, I'm coaching now speech, and I had a student that I was helping today, and they were like, I just don't feel, he's like, I always feel intimidated because people have these expectations, and I feel like I'm not going to live up to them. And Kagami said something in this episode that I was like, oh, I want to use that. And it was the idea of believe, but don't expect anything from anyone. I love that because it's like, believe that you're going to do well. You're going to do the best you can, but don't believe that, but don't expect, like, prepare for the worst, believe in the best. Like, I'm just like, yes, I love that mentality that you don't get, it's being humble. You're not getting yourself worked up about being the best or beating somebody. You just believe in yourself, do the best you can, and let the chips fall where they do. Like, I love that. That was such a great message in these episodes, right? And then they come back in and Kuroko's like, I'm gonna do this, and it's 46-48, and then that's when Aomine is about to charge past Kagami, and that's when Kuroko gets him to get the charging foul. And God, if there could not be another metaphor for their relationship, if there could not be a better metaphor for their relationship, you had Aomine steamroll into Kuroko, knock him down because he wasn't not considering Kuroko, and then who picks him up off the floor? If that whole scene wasn't a metaphor for their relationship, I don't know what is. I don't know what is at this point. I just, He's like, now you've done it, Tetsu. And Kagami's like, oh, sorry, here you go, thanks. Which kind of sucks for Aomine. First he had Kasamatsu pick Kisei up off the floor. Now he has Kagami pick Kuroko up off the floor. It's like, can't catch a break, can we? And then he just stares at Aomine. And I'm so curious what Kagami is thinking. What is he thinking about Aomine as he walks away? We don't know. And then Imayoshi gets, it's 49-50 in the third quarter. And Imayoshi is guarding Kuroko. Oh my God, you guys. Oh. So we need to talk about the end credits and the end cards before we leave. Oh my God, I've talked over an hour about this episode, but I was wired when I got done with this. Oh my gosh. What a crazy bunch of episodes, right? So the end credits. We'll talk about the end credits first. We finished number, I love that episode 38 was the last of that OP, right as I talk about how much I love it. And this is the last of Player 2's adventures. He goes back to the restaurant with the crew and they all have their new uniforms. It's very cute. I like it. I like Kogane's, or not Kagane, I like the one guy, Fuka's vest. It's cute, right? And Teppei can rock that pastel pink cardigan. Very sweet, very sweet. So then we start a new set of end credit scenes, and it is basically our group painting. I like that Rico has the red jumpsuit for painting. The others have the blue jumpsuits. I like that Hyuga has the white shirt over, and he's like undone the top and tied it around. It's great. And then of course, I like that Hyuga called somebody. Look who shows up late. Why, look who shows up. It's number 2. Number 2 has a little jumpsuit on. It's adorable. Kagami and Kuroko are on the phone. They've just come from making out in the park, like you do. I imagine Kagami is talking maybe to Hamuro or Alex, and you can hear Kuroko holding the phone away, and there's a bunch of noise. So I bet it's Momoe, probably. Speaking of which, we have the end cards. Now, I was told not to look at the end card for episode 36 until I watched this set because Anime Annie believed it was a spoiler. Kelsey was like, I don't know if it's a spoiler. And I was like, well, just to be safe, I'm going to wait. I'll be honest. I'm glad I waited. Because, yeah, the end card for episode 36 is the Generation of Miracles all sitting together, right? Which Aomine rocking that sleeveless shirt. Murasaki Bara has a weird garter around his foot, wearing a big old suit that's way too big on him. Midorima has this black glove that I'm like, what we doing, Midorima? Does Takao have the other black glove because you're only wearing one? Kisei looks like a model with these weird garters around the pant legs. And then Akashi looks like a vampire, surprising no one, with the white shoes. But honestly, I'm glad I didn't look at this end card last week, because I would have been like, the way my brain works, I would have been like, well, why are we getting an end card of all 5 of them together? We haven't seen that lately. And I think it would have maybe spoiled the surprise of Akashi calling them all together for their cult meeting. I feel like that would have spoiled the surprise. So I'm glad I waited. I really am. But that's a pretty good end card. I'll be honest. I just get the vibes from this end card. Because look at him. Like, Akashi and Kuroko look like they're in a mirror next to one another. And Imayoshi had a weird comment about mirrors at the end of this episode. I want to go back to that real quick before going back to this end card and talking more about it. What did Imayoshi say to Kuroko? What did he say to him? He made a comment to Kuroko, and then he's like, we're the ones that are in control. You really underestimate us. And then Imayoshi's on Kuroko-kun. Yeah. And he says, did you know some things can only be seen from behind the mirror? Yeah. Okay, so that line there made me instantly think of this end card, because it almost looks like a mirror, and you have Kuroko and Tetsuya who are like against each other, like looking into a mirror. It looks like Sailor Moon looking at herself in the opening. But I feel like Tetsuya and Akashi are polar opposites from one another. They're like the Negaverse versions of each other. But I don't like Akashi. And so I'm like, get away from him. Leave Kuroko alone. I do not ship those two together yet. Maybe they'll have like a makeout session in season 3 that you all will try to change my mind with. But right now, no. I do like this one. Speaking of back-to-back, get rid of that Akashi one. I do like the one of Sakurai and Hyuga. Their rivalry is great. I love petty little badger face Sakurai. It's adorable. Hyuga's great as a rival to him. Their rival's healthy, wonderful. I love all the things. I like the blue versus the red. It works really well. It's a cool 3-point shooter rivalry. You've got Aomine versus Kagami. You have Sakurai versus Hyuga. It's a lot of fun. And you have Wakamatsu against Teppei, I guess. And now you have Imayoshi versus Kuroko, I guess. And then this last one. Okay, this one's adorable. I love Momoi's dress. The blue is pretty. The turquoise color on her beads kind of matches Kuroko's hair. She looks lovely. It's really sweet that he's dancing with her. But I'm gonna be honest. I know a lot of people may ship Kuroko and Momoi. Y'all ship to your heart's content. You know how I am with my ships. To me, though, it looks like it's at Momoi's wedding and Kuroko's like her brother. She's like, you want to dance with me for this one dance, big bro? And he's like, okay. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like a brother or like a courtesy dance. I don't know. It doesn't seem like she has the stars in her eyes, but Kuroko's just being nice. He's being a nice guy, being like, sure, I'll dance with you. And she's like, sure. Or, if you ever go to a Western wedding in the U.S., at least I don't know if this is like this in all of the U.S., but where I am from, it is a tradition to have like a dollar dance at the wedding. And the idea is that you donate, like the guys go to dance with the bride, the girls go to dance with the groom. And I guess you could mix it up if you wanted to. That's just the weddings I've been to. But the friends of the bride go to dance with her. The friends of the groom go to dance with him. And then there's a jar and you pay $1 to dance with the bride or groom. And it's to help them like raise money to go on a honeymoon or something like that. This is what that reminds me of. I feel like it's like Momoi is at Kuroko's wedding and she's doing the dollar dance with him, except she's put like $300 bills and told the DJ to keep playing the songs. Don't stop for 3 hours. So yeah, it's really cute though. I like it. And if you do think that's romantic and it's shipping them together, I totally see it too. I feel like Momoi, honestly, if I'm being real, I ship Momoi with Aomine. I do. But I also kind of ship her with Riko more than anybody else, too. If Riko and Hyuga weren't OTP, I'd maybe go with Momoi and Riko, but what can we do? So, yeah. These episodes were a thing. I've talked for a good hour and 15 minutes about them. So yeah, I'm very curious your thoughts down below. If you're an Akashi fan, please don't give me any hints or clues about him. I may change my mind. We may find out about Akashi's backstory, and I may totally change my mind, and I may admit that I'm wrong and be like, I misjudged him. He's my favorite character now. But usually my gut instinct, I'm like, no. So we'll see though, right? We'll see. So I hope you enjoyed this reaction discussion. I cannot wait for the next set. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Kuroko's basketball. Bye.